To get a clear understanding of autism, and now we look into the life of a parent with an autistic child. We are joined by Letlhodilwe Moroe, who has an 11-year-old autistic child, and she is the owner of NGO Tokologo, the place of home, which mainly focuses on awareness campaigns on this disorder. Letlhodilwe is live from SABC studios in Bloemfontein. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through, Letlhodilwe. And I think you really have a story to tell. You have an autistic child who's now 11 years, and you had to drop out of tertiary in order for you to be able to take care of the child.
Yes, thank you for having me. Basically, I had to drop out of school. I had to give up my life to actually make a decision to take care of my son, because I couldn't get any therapies. Therapies were expensive. Schools were expensive since we do not have schools in the Free State. The only schools there are private, so they're very expensive. So everything was just so expensive, and there was no space anyway that I had to give up my life to actually take care of my son. So I was only 21 when my son was diagnosed. So everything just had to change. It was a bit challenging. It was very difficult. Just my life, what a normal tertiary student would do, I just had to give up. The last time I actually saw a movie, I was 3 months pregnant. I still haven't been to a cinema ever since. So I mean, simple things like that, I just had to give up everything and just take care of my son.
Now, as you say, of course, Letlhodilwe, that your life had to change. You were only 21. This was your first child. The experience, really, let's just talk about the difficulties or the challenges that you had to come across in, raising your child. As you say, it wasn't an easy one.
No, it wasn't. The first one, I think it was my surroundings, where people didn't really understand what autism is. So they will just say, my son is cursed, or he's just naughty. They just had a lot of things to say. So that also was a big challenge that I had to go through. So it means that most of the time it was just me and his dad, just the three of us, and no friends, no nothing, because no one really understood. I also went through anxiety. Me and his dad also had our own challenges in our relationship. To the point that to now we are not together because of, partly I think, of autism. So a lot of relationships also don't survive autism because of the challenges that both parents actually go through. And we went through a lot. But the one experience that I had to go through, that we all had to go through, was the incident of being hijacked, and I was shot 4 times. Luckily my son wasn't shot, and his dad. So there was just different challenges that I had to face in a space of autism and everything that I had to go through.
You really had to go through a lot. And I suppose what you're telling us now, Tlhodi, is basically what many mothers have to go through, especially mothers with autistic children. Because just a few weeks ago, I read on the newspaper that there is a mother who had to chain her autistic child to a chair and lock him up inside a shack because she actually feared that the child might get hurt or endanger people around him. So these are some of the ordeals that autistic children have to go through, and the parents as well.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, there are a lot of non-profit organizations that we have that actually are around, but not a lot of NPOs are actually concentrating in our rural areas, our informal settlements, if I had to put it in my language, nobody actually concentrates in those areas where a lot of people have a lack of knowledge when it comes to autism. So a lot of challenges that are happening there is that you find a lot of kids, my experience, I have found a lot of kids that are raped. I have found a lot of kids that are abused. I have found parents that want to kill themselves and their kids. And the one recent experience that I went through is finding a mother I found her with 4 kids in 4 plastic bags. It was a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-month-old. The 4-year-old was autistic. So she wanted to kill her whole family because she couldn't handle it. And I think, again, she was also depressed because she's been having kids every year. So, I mean, also a 20-year-old teenager that was raped, they even left a spanner inside of her. So, I mean, she was gang raped, she couldn't walk. The sad thing is that she didn't even understand what just happened to her. They left her with a packet of chips. So there's so many challenges that are happening, especially in our township, where autism is not really, they're not being given awareness because of, I don't know why. Our government is also not helping us. So our biggest challenge is mainly, yes, in our townships where people don't know what autism is. And there are parents who are not getting kids that are medicated or going to therapy are going to tie their kids under the chair because these kids can be in danger to themselves. You know, as a parent, I can try to understand what she's going through, but as a child also you have to understand it's also abuse. So it goes both ways, that as a parent there's really nothing much I can do. I need to make sure this child is protected.
I mean, some of these stories are very horrific, but what do you think NGOs like yours can do or assist in changing the status quo on autism?
NGOs can't really do much. People that really need to help us more is the government. The government really needs to stand out and actually start looking into autism. In the Free State, not much is really being done when it comes to autism. And we as NGOs will come and give awarenesses and go as far as we can with what we have. But government can go broader than that. They can actually even put flyers at clinics. Clinics are everywhere. They can even start by doing that, putting flyers and putting posters that can try and help people that are sitting there long queues, starting to read pamphlets and all of that. Maybe they will recognize there's autism out there.
Now, finally, your message really to parents with autistic children.
Understanding. The most difficult thing is understanding and acceptance. It took me a long time to understand that my son is autistic. Even with knowing he's different, it was a challenge. It was very difficult. I've tried to commit suicide a number of times with him because I can't leave him on this earth. It's cruel. So acceptance and understanding, even with everyone that's around us, acceptance and understanding is very important to us. Don't just see a child running around and just start saying, this child is naughty, you need to hit him. You know, and just try to understand that there's a reason, there's something wrong. Maybe ask a question rather than assume. So understanding and acceptance are very important.
And I suppose we should be having more of these discussions just to tell parents, this is a disorder that we need to know more of.
Hence awareness comes in. More and more awarenesses need to be done to actually help the parents understand. And also therapy needs to be given to parents that are going through this condition, because it's very hard to go through, especially with severe kids that actually hit their parents. You know, there's nothing much a parent can do but be hit almost every day, all day long. You don't even know if this child loves you. Yeah. They can't even call you mama or papa or even say happy birthday or happy Mother's Day to you. But now, and this child still hits you. So we really need to focus on mainly our townships. We really, really need help, and that's basically it. We really need help in our townships.
Indeed, indeed. Well, Letlhodilwe, thank you so much indeed for your braveness, coming on live television to talk to us about your story. Letlhodilwe Moroe is a mother who has an 11-year-old autistic child. And Peter, as she was telling us that she was only 21 when she fell pregnant, and she had to leave her life, a drop out of tertiary to take care of this child.
And I think it's quite representative of a lot of parents who have to make heartbreaking decisions, but also that autism has a spectrum. So some are very obvious from the get-go, and then there's others along the spectrum you can't quite tell. And doctors often, GPs, as hard as they try, it's not something that's easily picked up.
It's not picked up easily.
And then there's the cultural setting, isn't it? You know, particularly in the rural areas, as she says, in the
there's
townships,
witchcraft and a child has been cursed and such things. But of course, with more discussions like this, I think we'll be able to bring that awareness.
These kids are also exceptional in various areas as well, and I think this is something that's not talked about often.